one of the main things that we do is a tool that will help you to perform a single work session better. It's called Work Cycles. It's very popular. It helps you to run a work session in a more strategic, systematic way. So very often people will sit down to do work and they will sort of just jump in. They don't really have a clear outcome in mind, what they're actually trying to accomplish and how they will get there. They sort of just like go with the flow. And well, you can get things done this way, but they usually tend to take a lot longer than you might have otherwise taken. And you're often not really, there are many questions you can ask yourself before jumping into the work that will inform a lot of the outcomes that you're trying to go for. So let's say you're writing a paper. You could ask yourself, you could just like start writing the paper, but questions that you could ask yourselves are, who's going to read this? Who am I writing this for? What do I want them to take away when they have read this paper? What do I want them to learn from this? And depending on how you answer those questions, the way you approach the paper or the actual outcome of the paper could look very differently. So some of the things that we do in a work cycle is we have a planning session up front. Takes around 5 minutes if you're a veteran, takes maybe 10 to 15 minutes if you're just getting started. And during those planning sessions, you will ask yourself, what am I trying to accomplish for the next 4 hours, for example, for this next work session? A second question is, how is this important and valuable? We find that motivation is one of the things that can really make a huge difference. And in this field, you're basically really trying to see how it could even be a very mundane exercise or very mundane work that you're doing. But in this field, you have the chance to reframe it in a way that makes it highly, exciting. So let's say you're just doing your taxes. You could, reframe this in, okay, if I get this done, then I will feel liberated. I will feel this off my chest, or I might actually establish a process to make it easier next year and to think about my systems going forward. There are many possible answers. Then you're in the next piece, you're trying to do you're preparing for things that might go wrong. So for example, if you're, working on something that maybe requires a lot of like concentration, you might ask yourself, hey, are there any interruptions that are coming up? Am I expecting a call? Am I expecting someone to knock on the door? And if that happens, how will I address it? How will I deal with the situation? And you write into this field, for example, if the delivery guy shows up, I will, greet him at the door, I will take the stuff, bring it to the kitchen, and I will go right back to work. And those are kind of similar to, maybe you're familiar with the term or the concept of implementation intentions. If I do this, I will do this when X happens. You're sort of pre-planning your response, and then you're roughly gauging: is this an objective or is objective work? Is this something that you can actually measure? And you're defining in great detail, how will you know when this is complete? And this is the concept that Stephen Covey writes about in 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, one of the most well-known books. He has the concept of starting with the end in mind, like knowing the end result that you're trying to achieve. And I think this is maybe the most important field, knowing actually what the end result of your work is supposed to look like.